Hey everybody, Omar here, your knife of the party guy, and I am back with another fun-filled video and discussion on knife materials, which is a subject I don't think is often discussed. Um, when you get into this hobby of knife making, you're going to have to pretty much make a decision somewhere down the road whether you're going to stick with production knives or maybe go more into uh, into like customs, like South African customs or Russian customs or whatever. When you get into other countries, you're going to find that the materials you will see on a knife are going to be quite unique, and you probably won't ever see those materials put together quite that way ever again. And what's interesting about this subject is that what happens to us once we go down the road of customs is we begin to realize that we become material snobs. All of the knife materials that we want on our knives, we kind of want them all to be premium. But what happens when you come across a knife that kind of catches your eye, that's made with materials you've never ever seen before, but yet the materials look premium? So I want to bring out this knife. Okay, this is one of Des Horn's. This knife is made by Des Horn. Okay. And it is a knife that looks really stellar aesthetically, but you would be very, very surprised to find out what the material is on this knife. It is not really. I wouldn't call these set of materials on this knife premium, but they look premium. But yet, believe it or not, it probably would not cost any less than if you were to get a knife made with premium materials. And the reason I say that is because it takes a lot of work for a knife artist to put the materials together in this way so that you really cannot tell the difference. And I think that's probably what you're paying for when you look at a knife like this. It's really, really interesting the way that they put these materials together. So this knife is called the Slim Flip. It's a pretty rare model. He doesn't make it all that often. But basically, it's a front flipper piece. The materials on the knife, we have Nitrobe 77 steel on this. The bolster is obviously Damascus. That is not considered a cheap material. That's actually a high-end material. So he kind of formed that to be the bolster of this piece. And this is where it becomes part, where the knife starts to become more of an art piece rather than just a tool. And you're going to have to make a decision somewhere down the line. Am I in this hobby because I like the way the tool looks, or am I in this hobby strictly because I love the way the artists put the materials on my knife? I mean, this is where it becomes art. This is where the art part of knife making comes in. What a knife maker can do with whatever materials are around to put the knife together in such a way that it makes this piece very, very unique. Which comes pretty much to the crux of this conversation, which is the materials. Now, the lower part of this knife is where most of my discussion is going to come from. The material on the handle on this knife is C-Tech. Now, C-Tech is a combination of materials. It's a combination of wire mesh and resin and some other foreign materials. But if you take a good close look at this knife, does it not look like carbon fiber with wire mesh wrapped around it? I mean, you really cannot even tell that that the knife has resin in it and fiberglass and just these really strange materials all put together in the knife, but yet you really can't tell. And yeah, it would not cost any less than a knife with premium materials. Now I'm going to put this knife away for a quick second, and I'll bring it back out again later, so I can show you a knife that's made with high-end materials. I wish I could show them both together, but I'm shooting this video on my iPhone, so I can't really show you both of them because my other hand is holding the iPhone. So I'm going to put this knife away, and I'm going to go ahead and get out the other knife. Get my hand out of the way there for a second. So now I wanted to bring out my Des Horn ball release. This is another knife made by Des Horn. And as you can see, this one has zirconium, which is a high-end material. And we have carbon fiber for the handle. That's another high-end material. The ball release is also a high-end material. It's zirconium. So we have two materials, zirconium, and we've got carbon fiber, and of course titanium. The file work on this knife is spectacular. But if I bring out the other knife real quick, there's file work on this knife also. So somewhere down the line, as you get into your knife making, you're going to have to make a decision. Am I going to be a knife material snob, saying that I only want to have, premium materials like marble carbon fiber and zirconium and whatever other top premium materials that are out there, maybe some white Westinghouse, which are all micarta, which are all considered high-end materials? Or am I going to go with a knife that has lesser materials, but yet is no less compelling as far as aesthetics go on the knife? So that's something you're going to have to make a decision on, because keep in mind, if you limit yourself to the high-end materials, your knife collection is going to be less eclectic in that way. Because you have to think, when you start a knife collection, if you decide you're going to pick a particular region to begin your knife collection, then you're going to have to find some other way to build up your knife collection to make it interesting. And I've chosen materials and the knife maker himself. I want to see what's the best work that a knife maker can put out with the materials that he has, with the materials he decides to put on the knife to make the knife interesting and to make the knife more compelling in the eye of the owner of the piece, and how he can communicate that to others. Because if you're not doing that and you're going to go ahead and go into customs, I think you're missing a lot. You're missing a lot of the education, a lot of the learning. If I'd never even been introduced to SeaTac, I would never be able to tell you that it is resin and wire mesh and fiberglass all put together to form the handle. I mean, that's what I find interesting about this hobby, is the things that I come across, and yet the final product is still pretty beautiful. I mean, this is a great looking knife, but yet you can't tell that the materials are that foreign on the piece, versus the other knife, which I brought out earlier, which is, again, is another Des Horn piece made with really premium pieces, really premium materials, and that's the Des Horn ball release. I mean, this is just as beautiful as the knife that I brought out earlier. So that being said, if you're going to go into the hobby of if you're going to go into the hobby of, if you're going to get into this knife hobby, then you're pretty much going to want to consider making your collection as interesting as you can. And I think the best way to do that is to show off the knife maker, show off the knife, and show off the knife materials. That way your collection will have a lot more to talk about. I mean, other than just you know, the premium materials that are on it, because it takes a lot of work to make a knife look like this. We have no idea how many hours it took for Des Horn to make this knife. Keep in mind, this is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece. I don't know the other iterations of this knife that he made where he probably screwed up. I'm sure he doesn't want other people to know that he screwed up a knife, possibly. But, you know, if he did this knife or made this knife in one shot, making no mistakes, that's pretty impressive. I don't care how many years of knife making you've been doing it. It's still a challenge to grab a bunch of materials of different look, different feel, different aesthetics, and put it all together on a knife, knowing that the knife is going to be just as solid as if it were made out of all titanium, but yet aesthetically looking better. And I think that that's the challenge that every knife maker has when they create a piece, whether they're from South Africa or Russia or China or the Netherlands, wherever their knife making exists in the world. Any knife maker that can put out work like this with anything, like garbage out of a garbage can, if he can make that look like this, you have to, as a knife collector, you have to try to appreciate what these guys do. And if you're not doing that in your knife collecting and you decide to go the route of customs rather than just staying in production, in the production world, then yeah, you are truly missing a lot in this hobby. Because it's only going to make you more knowledgeable in the end on the materials that the knife makers use. You'll be more educated. You'll get more enlightenment out of the hobby than if you were just to strictly leave yourself, well, the action's awesome. I love the action. I love the steel. I love the titanium. I mean, how far is that going to go for you as a knife collector in this hobby if you had 40 knives that were all pretty much the same? It's not really much to talk about, but you pull out something like this and, you know, it's like pretty much life-changing. I mean, take a look at the file work on that knife. Take a look at how he put the material. It looks like there's gold in there with the, you know, the pattern that's on that handle. It just looks stunning, and yet it's just resin, fiberglass, possibly plastic, wire mesh, and resin all shut together into form a very, very highly durable handle. I mean, this is practically indestructible, the material here. So the contrast of this with the Damascus bolster, it makes it really a compelling artwork and something worth applauding. And hats off to Des Horn, because I don't know how the hell the man does that. And of course, he does his own engraving on these screws. Check out the screws. They look like jewelry. So that's something to think about when you get a knife like this, knowing that the materials on the knife are not exactly, I mean, they're all inorganic, but they're not exactly pure. They're not exactly high-end, like, say, maybe carbon fiber or zirconium, or maybe even meteorite, which is the latest material that knife makers are using. If you can get yourself some meteorite and put that on your knife, that's going to shoot the price of your knife way up there. And meteorite is pretty much a natural material, so, but, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think this is just as pretty as, you know, a knife that has carbon fiber and, you know, zirconium and all the other really cool, fancy things that we want on our knives, like my Des Horn ball release. I mean, it is no less compelling. And that's all I want to talk about today on this video, was what will happen to your knife collecting if you decide to go this route. You know, the knife materials that you choose on the knife. Are you going to be super picky and choose stuff with premium materials like this knife here? Or are you willing to open up your mind a little bit and go with something that is just as aesthetically stunning as this knife. Something to think about. So this is Omar, your knife of the party guy, signing off with my slim flip made by Des Horn. That's made with plastic and resin and wire mesh and who knows what else is on here. Metal, I don't know. But yet looks fairly stunning. So keep that in mind the next time you're in if you're lucky enough to be in a knife shop or you're lucky enough to go to a blade show. Keep that in mind when you're looking to scope your next knife for your collection. Open up your mind and really just see what was going on in the head of the knife maker when he was creating that piece. So this is Omar, the Knife Shark, formerly the Knife Shark guy, now Omar, the Knife of the Party guy, signing off. Hoping you'll find a knife that inspires you and gets you to build your own collection like I built mine. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Sorry I didn't get any viewers on this one, but maybe I'll have a lot of viewers afterwards watching it. But then again, I didn't exactly announce that this video was going to happen. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and you have a great day.